Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, thanks for stopping by. I'm Carol and I'm glad that you're here. I hope you will consider subscribing. So today we're going to have a little bit of a conversation about Louisiana red beans. Now on my channel, I do have a recipe for Louisiana red beans. That recipe does not include any meat. It's just beans and seasonings, which is totally safe, totally delicious, and a great meal starter. However, many of you have reached out to me and inquired about the recipe on Ball Fresh Preserving's website by the same title, Louisiana red beans. And in that recipe, they allow for andouille sausage and bacon. So many of you have reached out to me, want to know what my thoughts are on that recipe. Is it safe? Is it not safe? So I went to the source and sent a message to Ball because we are told by the USDA, National Center of Home Food Preservation, that it is not recommended to add cured meats in our canning recipes. So I reached out to Ball to inquire about this recipe on their website. I'm going to read you their direct response. In all honesty, I was highly disappointed in the response I got to the safety of that recipe. I specifically asked them if it was tested, and I asked for them to explain how it is safe to add andouille sausage, which I understand is a cured meat. Reach out to me, feel free to reach out to me and tell me I'm wrong, but I couldn't find any versions of freshly made andouille sausage. It's always cured from my research. Bacon is kind of a gray area. We're told we really shouldn't. It's a cured meat. It shouldn't be added willy-nilly to our recipes. However, Ball and the National Center of Home Food Preservation do use it in small amounts in some of their recipes. The USDA does allow for it in their Boston baked bean recipe, but it's in a very small amount. So you can make of that what you will. In my mind, bacon is either safe or it's not safe. By saying we shouldn't add it, but they're adding it even in small quantities, I think can be confusing, but that's how it is. So anyway, back to my response from Ball Fresh Preserving. Dear Carol, thank you for your patience. Our food scientist team reached out in regards to your question. I will provide their direct response below. And here is their direct response. This is a pressure canning recipe. Pressure canning allows for the safe preservation of sausage. We have several recipes for it, as does the USDA. The use of bacon grease is in line with USDA recipes for preserving meat, which has the addition of pork fat while cooking. Preservation times are also in line with USDA recipes. Here is a relevant USDA recipe for reference, and I leave a link. I will leave their exact link in the description box below for you. Let us know if you have any questions. If I can be of further assistance, please reply to this email so I can see all previous replies, blah, blah, blah. Thank you, Katelyn, Fresh Preserving Consumer Care. That is a lousy response in my opinion, because I specifically asked if it was a tested recipe. They did not say, yes, it was. The link that they shared from the National Center of Home Food Preservation was a link to canning fresh ground meat. And that does include, let me pull it up here. That does include ground or chopped meat, bear, beef, lamb, pork, sausage, veal, or venison. However, the sausage part is not a cured sausage. They are referring to making your own fresh sausage and canning it. Also, the response they gave about adding pork fat, the procedure that is included in this link does state, with venison, add 1 part of high quality pork fat to 3 to 4 parts venison before grinding. They're adding it to the venison because the way I understand venison is a very lean meat, so they're allowing for some fat to be added so that it's not, so it won't be dried. It doesn't state that exactly, but that's my guess. So Ball is correct in saying that the USDA guideline does allow for the addition of pork fat. It does specifically state that there. But it does say it just for venison. It doesn't say to willy-nilly add it to any kind of meat that you're canning. So I think that they're kind of taking that and running with it a little bit, my opinion. But the USDA guideline does state that they do not recommend canning cured meats. So how Ball is using a guideline for fresh meat as an allowance to add a cured meat to a recipe, I don't get where the connection is there, but that's what they're saying is safe. Bacon, I think, is kind of a gray area. Because the National Center for Home Food Preservation does allow for adding bacon, like I said earlier, to some of their baked bean recipes. In my mind, it should be cut and dry. Either it's safe or it's not. I don't know how you can justify adding it even in small amounts and calling it safe, but tell us to not add it to recipes that we're canning up. So to me, bacon's kind of a gray area. I think it should be either a yes or a no. It seems to be that guideline is a little bit confusing in my mind. But it's the andouille sausage that is the concern for me. With that being said, I don't think everything benefits from being canned. And that's just my opinion. I don't have a problem with adding the andouille sausage fresh to a jar of my beans. That would be my preference anyway. I'm not a huge fan of canned meats. I do enjoy the chicken, I do enjoy roast beef, but as far as sausage and ground meats, not a huge fan of that. So it doesn't hurt my feelings for the USDA to say we shouldn't do that. I'm fine with sauteing it up and adding it to a jar of my beans. But for those of you who like to can all the things, you're gonna have to make your own determination about that recipe. And I'm sorry, I don't have a better answer for you. I don't feel comfortable in saying, yes, it's a safe recipe. I don't know that they tested that recipe exactly as written. They did not state that. So I think Ball having that on their website, they take responsibility for that recipe. So you can make a judgment call on your own and decide if that's right for you or not right for you. With that being said, I do like Ball. I can their recipes frequently from their cookbooks and from their website. I just have a little bit of concern with this one with the Louisiana red beans. I'm not going to add the andouille sausage to my beans and jar it up. I'm just not. But I'm not telling you you shouldn't either. I think that you should take the information that I've shared here from the National Center for Home Food Preservation, the response from Ball, and you make a decision about what is right for you. I did reach out to 2 of my friends who are master food preservers. They have their certification, and neither one of them are comfortable with Ball's recipe. That's just us. So you'll have to decide for yourself what your thoughts on that are. But like I said, with that being said, I still like Ball. I'm still gonna can from their recipes. I thoroughly read through recipes before I share them. I feel very responsible for things that I share on my channel, and I like to make sure I'm giving you good information. So I'm not going to do a video on their version of Louisiana red beans. I'm not comfortable with that recipe, and I'm not going to do that. So you decide for yourself. With that like I said before, I still like Ball. They do have their bean soup recipe does allow for ham, as does their split pea and ham soup. Both of those recipes are tested to my knowledge, and I'm comfortable with adding the ham. That being said, I don't add any more. I stick to the amounts that they say that we should add. And I'm very comfortable with canning up both their bean soup with the ham in it and their split pea and ham soup. So I know some things with canning can reach into gray areas. And sometimes it's just like a judgment call, and you have to do what you feel comfortable with after you have an understanding of what the guidelines are and the recommendations are. Also, with that being said, know that sometimes things are recommended by the USDA as something we shouldn't do simply because they've not been tested. Not because it is quote unquote unsafe, but it just hasn't been tested as safe. So for Ball to allow for the andouille sausage with the same processing times as fresh meat, I think is borderline irresponsible. My understanding of cured meats, the texture is different once it's cured, and heat penetration can be an issue, which is why the big to-do with the bacon and sausages that are smoked and cured. There could be an issue with heat penetration. I don't think it's been tested as being unsafe. I just don't think that we know for sure if it's safe or not. So I'm sorry I don't have a better answer for you guys. All I can tell you is I'm not gonna can that recipe. I'm gonna add my andouille sausage when I open up a jar of my Louisiana red beans, and you will have to determine what's right for you. If you have any comments or questions, please feel free to leave them for me in the comment section below. Reach out to me if you have any more questions regarding that recipe, or if I can help in any other way. And as always, thank you so much for stopping by, and I will see you soon. Mwah!